The little girl clutched her teddy bear as she walked down the narrow airplane aisle. Her braids bounced with each step, and her wide brown eyes scanned the glowing of first-class seats with quiet excitement. She had never flown in one before. Not with all that space, those soft blankets, and smiling attendants offering warm towels on silver trays. But when she stopped at her assigned seat in the front, a tall flight attendant stepped in her way. "Sweetheart," the woman said, her smile tight and polite, "this isn't your seat. A first class is reserved for premium passengers." The girl frowned. "But it's on my ticket." The attendant leaned down, her voice dropping lower, the kind of tone adults used when they thought kids couldn't possibly understand. "Honey, first class is very expensive. Maybe you should check again with your parents. Coach is down there, huh?" She pointed toward the crowded economy section. The little girl's hands tightened around her teddy bear. Her father wasn't there yet. He was speaking with a captain near the boarding door. She opened her mouth to explain, but felt her throat close instead. It wasn't the first time she'd seen that look. Assumption that she didn't belong. Passengers nearby shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to hear. A man coughed into his newspaper. A woman looked down at her phone. And the little girl, suddenly small in the vast aisle, whispered, "This is my seat." That was when her father stepped in. He was tall, in a tailored navy suit, with an easy authority in his stride. "Is there a problem here?" he asked calmly, though his voice carried the weight of command. The attendant straightened instantly. "Sir, this young girl must have made a mistake. She's trying to sit in first class, but this section is..." "She's my daughter," the man cut in gently but firmly. Then he held out his boarding pass where his name was printed boldly at the top. The attendant's eyes widened when she read it. Because it wasn't just any name. It was the CEO of the very airline she worked for. The silence in the cabin was so thick you could hear the engines humming outside. The attendant's face went pale. Passengers who had been pretending not to notice now leaned forward, curiosity sparking in their eyes. The man crouched down to his daughter's level, smoothing a hand over her braids. "Sweetheart, your seat is right here, just like we planned," he said softly. "But don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't belong." The little girl smiled, her fear melting into pride. She climbed into her seat, her teddy tucked under her arm, while the attendant stumbled over apologies. But the father didn't raise his voice. He didn't fire her on the spot, though he had the power to. Instead, he spoke in a tone that carried farther than anger ever could. "You see," he said, turning so the passengers could hear, "my daughter is flying with me today because I promised her something, and she'd always know her worth. First class isn't about the seat or the ticket. It's about respect. And kindness should never depend on what someone looks like or what you think they can afford." The cabin was hushed. Some nodded. A few even clapped quietly, and the attendant, her eyes lowered, whispered, "All right, I'm so sorry." The man nodded once, not unkindly. "What matters now," he added, "is that you learn from this moment. That way no child, or adult, ever feels smaller because of someone else's assumptions." The rest of flight was different. Passengers who might have spent the trip in silence found themselves smiling at the little girl when she walked by. A businessman helped her reach for her coloring pencils when they tumbled to the floor. An older woman in coach asked if she could come back and show her granddaughter her teddy bear. And for the first time, that little girl felt what her father had promised her. She belonged everywhere. When the plane landed, the attendant lingered by the door, waiting. She bent down to the little girl. "Thank you for teaching me today," she said quietly. "You reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Kindness comes first." The girl smiled, her teddy bear squished against her cheek. "It's okay," she whispered back. "And just be nicer next time." Her father took her hand as they walked off the plane, sunlight spilling through the terminal windows. And in that simple moment, no grand speeches, no dramatic punishments, something powerful had shifted. Because sometimes, change doesn't come from anger. Sometimes, it comes from a child holding a teddy bear, teaching the world, one gentle word at a time, what true first class really means. The next morning, the story of the flight had already started making waves online. A passenger who had quietly recorded part of the exchange had shared it with the caption, "This is why you treat everyone with respect, because you never know who they are or what they carry inside them." By breakfast, it had been watched thousands of times. By lunch, it was in the millions. And in every corner of the internet, people were talking not about power or money, but about the little girl with the teddy bear and the father who chose compassion over anger. Back at the airline headquarters, the CEO sat with his daughter in his office. She was spinning slowly in his leather chair, her feet too short to touch the ground. "Daddy," she said between giggles, "are people really talking about me?" He smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. About you, and about what happened on the plane. You showed them something important." "Oh, what's that?" "That even when people make mistakes, you don't have to answer with meanness. You answer with kindness, and it changes them." The girl thought about it. "So, I made first class kinder?" Her father laughed softly, his eyes warm. "Yes, you did." A week later, the airline announced a new training program for all staff. One not just about safety and service, but about dignity and empathy. The CEO never once mentioned the incident publicly, but those who had been on that flight knew exactly where the change had come from. And as for the little girl, she kept flying with her dad from time to time, always carrying her teddy. Passengers would sometimes recognize her, whispering to each other, "That's her, the girl from the story." But she never let it make her feel different, because in her heart, she had already learned the greatest truth, that kindness doesn't just earn you a seat in first class, it gives you wings wherever you go. And with every journey, she carried that lesson forward, leaving behind trails of gentle courage, reminding strangers that true class can't be bought. It's lived.